for the Marine Corps under Sergeant Major Barrett, when Sergeant Major was the gentleman who was there when Dakota received the Medal of Honor. And Gunny Nunn and I still remain good friends. You know, but like all these people have helped me, and I like to think that I helped them throughout different points of their life. And now, you know, Shane, I never would have thought that day. I mean, I remember it's a weird name. It's called Pipapassa, Kentucky. It's in Pipapassa, Kentucky. It's the middle of nowhere.
I gotta say that.
Pipapassa. I was visiting Alice Lloyd College in Pipapassa, and it's a long drive back to Columbia. And there's only one road in and one road out of Pipapassa. But I listened to your all's podcast intently, and I remember like thinking, oh, what a story. Wow. And then, you know, then we're following each other on Instagram, and I see you training every day, and I see you trying to get after it, and you sharing your story of all the things you've been through. And I'm thinking to myself, like you need to know something. Like, you inspire me. Yeah. You know, like we don't have to all be, we kid around. Dakota and I kid around because we're good friends. Like, a Medal of Honor doesn't define you.
No,
you know, you define. Right. You know,
and Dakota says it.
He said that on our podcast. Yeah,
he says it really well. Yes.
Yeah. But like your story, and while it was unfortunate, the circumstances of it, you've turned that into something that now has inspired, I would say, I'm going to use the word thousands of people. I mean, look at all the people who check in on your Instagram posts, and look at how many people are checking in your podcast. And so there's all these defining moments and all these defining people in our lives. And it's pretty awesome that we get to do this every day. That's why I find it hard when people are like, man, I can't find any motivation. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Just look around.
It's all over.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. You clearly don't have your eyes open. Is what I try to tell people.
So I want to talk to you about your accident cycling. And did you get hit by a car, or what happened?
Now my accident was not cycling. It was my son and I. So on August 29th, 2014, we were celebrating coming off of cycling. Basically, we had just finished. I forget what number Ironman it was for me and my buddies. And when you do that, when you do Ironman races, your family and friends play such a key role, because it's
is
funny.
Your son at all interested in doing an Ironman?
He likes to come out and support me, but he's not interested in doing Ironman. Not at this point.
It takes
right now,
a lot of training, and it would take him away from jiu-jitsu, man.
Yeah. But your family and your friends play such a key role in supporting you doing it. Like, you know, they bring me water and food and nutrition when I'm out on long runs and rides.
Right.
You know, they're filling up ice baths when I come home on long training days. You know, they're there for hours and hours on end when I'm racing, and they're getting me back and forth to places. They live through your pains and soreness. Well, we want to do something nice for our spouses and our families, and we had sort of a post Ironman, party, just kind of barbecue cookout. And one of my friends that I race with, him and his son had just bought a Razor. You know what? It's one of these side by side,
UTV.
Yeah. And this was a 4-seater. Now, I'm a city boy. I didn't grow up on 4-wheelers. I don't know nothing about this kind of stuff. And I get in the back because I don't care about. But I was like, yeah, I'll go. And so 4 of us jumped in there, and my son was behind the wheel driving. Now, this is before he had his driver's license, and so he hadn't really driven very much.
And those things got a lot of
power. We were rolling. I'm just going to say we were going. I don't want to say how fast we were going on the podcast because it might incriminate us. But we were going really fast. And in Kentucky, in the middle of summertime in August, it's so humid, and especially at night, the dew starts to sit. Like the humidity starts to sit on the grass in these fields. And my friend has a big farm, and we were burning it up through these trails in the woods and racing across big open fields. Well, there was a Y, and to get back to the house, we were supposed to go left. And my son is barreling down this like little embankment, and the adults in the vehicle all yelled at him at the last second to go left. And he was way deep right, and he just cranked the wheel over, and we caught an embankment and flipped and rolled. Oh my God. And just like Hannah talks about in her podcast with you. So I remember yelling. I was one of the people who did it. I said, left, 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 left. And I remember we started to go sideways. And I remember we started to flip. and we flipped on the side that I was. And remember, I'm 6'5", so
Mm-hmm.
those things aren't really made for.
And
I came
also
out, I was wearing a
remember the
seatbelt.
dew and
Yeah,
the slippery surface, and
So it rolled multiple times, crushed the entire thing. My head bounced off multiple rocks. I had a hematoma, and I had a brain bleed on the right-hand side above my ear, across the soft part of my head. Shattered all my ribs to my right side. My knee was shattered. I was bad shape. Collapsed my lungs. The air lifted me out. But now here, like Hannah, I have no memory from the time we said go left.
Yeah.
That was it. And to this day, I still have I have no memory of the air flight. I have no memory of the hospital. And I have the next time I remember anything, they were going to put a chest tube in, and that I did not like. I was kind of conscious for that, and I did not like that at all.
Yeah.
That was when they cut and put that chest tube in to drain my chest. That was not good. But that's it. And so that was a long. So I was scheduled to do. So we were that year we were going to try to do 2 back-to-back Ironman within 11 days of each other.
Wow.
And
when was that? 2014, right?
Yeah. That was August 29th, 2014. And so I was just like, I remember. So like, going back to that. Well, I'll your expression at the beginning of your podcast, that iron will. So I was determined to still go to the race and at least support and be there with my family. It was in Maryland, and to support my buddies I trained with. So I managed to get out of the hospital, and I was really banged up, but we drove all the way from Kentucky to Maryland, and I watched my buddies race. And that was, it was emotionally charging. It was like emotionally charging. I was really emotional all day long because, you pour thousands of hours and miles into something. And to know that I was going to be out of commission for such a long time, it took a long time. To this day, I still have residual effects from like my lungs. I have, like you get that traumatic brain injury. I get dizzy spells a lot of times. Like rolling jiu-jitsu is probably not the smartest thing for me because I get disoriented. I get kind of like vertigo sometimes. Yeah. If my head's, from different things. Just my ribs never, your ribs, when you break ribs, as many as I broke, they never really settle back the same way. And so my breathing is not quite the same. Plus, just age and injuries like that just leave their mark. I just didn't, I don't want to make it an excuse. I make it to me, it's motivating. Like, I'm not going to let it define me. I'm going to define that situation.
Yeah. So. Right. I mean, it happened. And because it happened, what are you going to do? You could wallow, right, for the rest of your life and use it as an excuse to be like, I can't train because I shattered my knee before, or it's too hard on my lungs. You could totally come up with excuses, but you choose not to.
This is John Shane. This is a true story. I knew. So like when I was conscious, obviously I'm drugged up, but I'm conscious now. I'm laying in the hospital bed. And I could see every day my son was terribly distraught because he felt like he had hurt his dad, like he had hurt his superhero,
He didn't get injured.
Okay? Was he all right?
Yeah.
Didn't have no one else. There was he didn't have it. He had no scratches on him. One of my friends had to get a couple stitches, and the other person had to get a couple stitches, but that was it. Everybody was fine.
The biggest person in the razor is the one that takes the load.
Yeah. Man. So but it was funny, as I said to my wife, I remember he had stepped out to go use the bathroom, and I told my wife, I said, hey, tonight, why don't you let Cole stay with me at the hospital and you go get some rest? I said, I got an idea about something. And I remember he was so down, like he wouldn't really talk to me, and that's not his way. He's just a lot like me. Right. He's real talkative. Yeah. And so he's
night, like blaming himself, right?
He felt terrible guilt. I woke him up at like 2, I forget what it was. It might have been like 2 o'clock in the morning. I woke him up. I said, Cole, and he like jumps up. He's like, what's the matter, Dad? Are you okay? And we get the nurse. I said, no. And I said, we got a race coming up. Cause again, remember I said I had the race coming up. Right. I said, I gotta keep training. I said, you gotta help me. I said, this is what we're going to do. I said, I want you to come over here. And I said, I want you to hit that switch, and that'll shut off all the nurses station signals. I said, help me out of bed. And I said, now you got to carry because they were draining the blood out, like the fluid in the blood and out of my lung, out of my chest cavity. I collapsed. It had reinflated, but like there was all that fluid down in my chest cavity.
Yeah, sure.
So I said, you got to carry my drain it looks like a little miniature suitcase. I don't know if you've ever seen them before, like the tube and the thing. It looks like a little miniature suitcase, and it's hooked to the end of your bed. So he picks it up, and he's like, "Why?" His eyes are as big as saucers. He's like, "What are you doing, Dad?" And I'm holding on to the bed. And, in hospitals, they had those railings that you could hold on as you walk the whole way down the hallways. Right. And we just snuck out. We snuck out, and we walked all the way down the hallway. And when we got to the end of the hall, we turned around, came all the way back, and we did that every night. And I said, "Dude, we're training. We got to get ready for the race." And I knew there was no chance of me getting ready for the race, but I wanted him to know that you should never allow yourself to be defeated. You know what I mean? You got to.
Sure. Yeah.
That's a really great lesson.
Yeah, for sure.
And it sounds like it affected your son in a really positive way. Yeah,
that'll impact him for the rest of his life for sure.
He's never like, and I'd say even before that, but it definitely since that moment and moments forward, like I tell him, and I'm proud to say this as a dad now. He's 20. He just had his 22nd birthday, or he'll be 22 in April. But I tell him all the time, I said, I hope that I grow up to be the man that he is. Isn't it? You know what I mean? Like as his father, I tell him all the time, I said, you're twice the man that I am. Like I'm so proud of him. So I tell him all the time.
That's a really powerful statement.
Mm-hmm.
That's again, those circles, man. I'm fortunate that he's one of the people in my circle. My wife and I say all the time that we may not have done everything perfect, but we sure are proud of parenting, and maybe we didn't always do it right, but somehow the good Lord and whatever it is helped us do a good enough job that he's turned out the way he has. So my wife and I are super proud of him.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's really good to hear. Like, because I don't know, my dad is kind of a more quiet person. He's definitely an introvert, but and just to hear that like makes me realize that he might not be able to say what he's thinking a lot of the time, but that those thoughts are definitely in there.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and when you understand that, sometimes you don't have to have spoken word. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's intuitive. It's there. It's like it's an understood thing between people sometimes. Yeah. I mean, we're just again. I think the older I've gotten, the more I feel just sort of blessed by the people and the influences that have sort of shaped me, and the good and the bad. Like I don't wish anybody to have an accident, but that certainly dictated a lot of things in my life since then too, since 2014. I mean, every time I'm feeling sorry for myself, I go, "Huh, really, Chris?" And then I go, "Okay, never mind."
Yeah. You've been through much worse.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you meet other people who's like that, I tell students this all the time. They'll say, "Dean Schmidt, can I meet with you?" "Oh, I bet you're really busy." I say, "Whoa, stop. My busy is no less different than your busy. It's just different kinds of busy. Your accident is no less than my accident. My accident is no less than your accident. It's just that it's my accident." You know what I mean? It's just, there's different, every person is dealing with their own thing where they are with that thing.
Right.
And so we have to take that into consideration. Everyone always wants to make it a comparison. "Oh, look at this scar. No, look at this scar. Look at this."
Yeah.
Man,
there really is no comparison. You can't compare each other's. Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
No.
I tell my kids all the time. I have 6 daughters, and I tell them all the time, like, you don't have to go through the same stuff that I went through to become a good person. Like
100%.
You don't.
I believe that too.
Yeah, and it helped me. Like, sure, I went through some crazy stuff. I did drugs, I did all that kind of stuff, and it by overcoming all of it, I built stronger. But doesn't mean anybody else has to do drugs to know that they shouldn't do them, right? You don't have.
That's just how your character was developed.
Exactly.
People's characters develop different ways. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we can learn from other people's things that they've gone through. We can learn from those. As long as you have that perspective. So developing a philosophy of learning from everything that you can. And that's what I teach my kids. And Hopefully I'm doing an all right job. Hopefully.
That's and you know what, you just hit the nail on the head. That's all we got to put our best foot forward every day and doing those things, and hopefully those lessons sink in. And then there's that free will thing that's out there.